life rough, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I'm not gonna take the shoes off though.
Doesn't help for you. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. We're doing that without going through the surgery. That's the other thing to know. So if you're looking for that, this is not the place for you. Okay. What about my family? That's what keeps me busy when I'm not here. My amazing wife, Emily, we have 6 kiddos, and yeah, 2 are in college now, and senior in high school, and my boys, and
Holy
Claire's
crap.
now in 3rd grade, so it's a busy house.
Yeah.
Big family.
We got dogs and outside cats and fish, and my son's got a snake, and it's a whole barnyard, you know. Yeah, pretty much. I'm a local guy. I was born at Holy Spirit Hospital. Went to school, came back, it's kind of the short version. And anybody drive more than an hour today to get here?
Well, I drove, I just came off work and I drove an hour to get back to the shop and 15 minutes to get here. So
Gotcha.
I'm working at Harrisburg, living in Cumberland.
Okay, so you've been hiking around with your local. Yeah, good.
I go and do funerals. So I go to
Mm.
Landisburg, Gettysburg, Blaine, Gettysburg, you never know.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
I
well,
do a
thanks
lot
for
of- a lot
being
of-
here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've seen over the years too is that usually you start losing some of your hobbies, right? Like that gets less enjoyable or more bothersome or all the above. Does that kind of resonate for you guys a
It's
bit?
like, yes, you feel like little.
Yeah, right. So that underlying question, why did you come and spend a beautiful Tuesday afternoon? What are you really here for? What are you hoping to get? If you can fix your neuropathy, what would that do for you? That's one to just think about. You don't need to answer that now, but it's like, you know, what's that real deep desire that really drove you here on a Tuesday afternoon, right? So let's just be thinking about that along the way. Here's my joke for the day. Ready? Why do the patients stop seeing the neurologist?
You want
Felt better, I guess.
Wasn't help wrong.
So yeah, we had 2 different options there. It didn't help, and feeling better, or good hope. Yeah. The dad joke, they got on their nerves. Right? Yeah. So I hear a lot of times that it can be helpful diagnostically, but other than that, they're just kind of playing with my feet anymore. There's no real other solutions they have besides medications and symptom management. So that's kind of the more serious side of the joke, but again, it's a joke. It's not a recommendation. You don't need to quit seeing a neurologist. But a big picture view here. A lot of people are just going, well, what even is neuropathy? Bottom line is it's damage to the nerve system. There's your central nerve system, then your brain and your spine, and everything else is considered peripheral. Okay, so that's a big picture view of what that can be. One other thing about me, my voice gets tight from time to time. If you need me to repeat something, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to show you the information today. We all have our things to work through, and that's just one of mine. So that's my journey. So with neuropathy, though, you're not alone. There's 20 million people in the U.S. suffering with this stuff. That's 1 in 6 people over age 45. Like, why in the world? How is this getting so significant? Right? I mean, can you catch it? Is it contagious? It's not. Yeah, so why are these numbers so substantial? We'll learn more about that in a minute here. What are some of the traditional treatment options they've given you? Well, let me just take a step back. Has anybody been diagnosed with neuropathy? You're like, okay, so and others are just curious about what that might be, or do I have that? Okay, just trying to get a feel for how I can, yeah. And so maybe, Bill, if I ask you that question then, what options have they given you for treatment?
They didn't really say any options. Got a pen, and I guess it's supposed to help. But
Right.
I took that for a little bit, and then just one prescription, and then I weaned off of it.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Did you notice it doing anything?
I don't know. I don't really
Didn't
know. I
take
don't think
enough
so.
stuff from
I
it.
just- I've always been in pain, but I don't know if it's as severe.
Yeah.
And I don't know. My family doctor said that beforic acid alpha lipoic.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, that give me a helper.
But it's so expensive.
Right.
What is it? Folic acid?
Alpha lipoic acid. We'll talk more about that in a little minute. We're going to do some of those other options, but you're right. I'm glad to hear they're a little more progressive in what they're considering with that. But yeah, that's one of the options that is there. Traditionally, though, it's medication, like I mentioned, gabapentin, Neurontin, Cymbalta, Lyrica. All these are different medications that are used typically off-label. They're actually anti-seizure medications, most of them, and they're using off-label to manage symptoms with neuropathy. So obviously all medications come with side effects, and then typically what I see is dose goes up and up and up, and then that's about all we can do in terms of treatment options. They may be doing injections, they may be doing some PT or something like that, but generally speaking, traditional treatment options are medication, and then worst case scenario, amputation if it gets to the point where the tissue is dying and it needs to be removed, right? So I don't harp on that. You do need to be aware that that can be a possibility, especially if you're type 2 diabetic or you're type 1, then the risk is higher for that kind of scenario, okay? So yeah, prescription drugs and potential amputation. And essentially, it's symptom management, right? They're just going, how can I make you feel a little bit better so you can, maintain to some degree your quality of life before this thing degenerates and we can't do it anymore. That's their approach. And you're probably here for something different, am I right? Yeah, so let me show you the better way, okay? We'll just kind of breeze through that one for now. But you start losing quality of life is a thing, right? If you can't feel your feet, you got pain in the feet, you start losing mobility. I had a lady earlier today, she's like, I can't feel the pedal when I'm driving. So my workaround is I put it in park when I'm at the light, so I don't have to keep my foot on the brake. Or, these are the people that are driving around on the streets, right? That we you know what I mean? That we warn our kids about and stuff. But that's real. Hopefully you guys haven't gotten to that point where you're losing that kind of feeling. But then maybe your balance isn't great. You got fear of falling, or the steps are a problem. All these things kind of run in the back of your mind. Has anybody experienced that? Yeah. So these are things you run into all the time. This is my trip to the Finger Lakes last summer. We went for my anniversary, and I saw that flight of steps, and I was like, oh man, my patients would hate to try to, most of them would try to, or at least the new ones, right, that are just getting started with this, would hate to try to do this. I'm a little bummed because we just got we had a guest speaker today that was going to come and join us and tell us about his progress, and Brian did amazing. But I can't be able to share his story today in there, but he was going to join us and share with you guys his experience. He did amazing well. But, you stop traveling, the hobbies aren't so fun anymore, and you can stop living. And you're here for something different, right? So, what's the better way? First of all, this is healthcare. I can't guarantee you anything, right? That's illegal. We don't do illegal things. But that being said, for the cases that we can help, we're seeing a 90+% success rate. Okay? So what does 90% look like? What does success look like, right? If you can improve your symptoms by 50 to 100%, would that be a win?
For sure.
That's commonly what we're seeing is 50 to 100% improvement in 90% of the cases or more. Okay? So that's a win in my book. So, yeah. Part of my job today is to give you guys some hope. People that were just like you not long ago, suffering with this stuff, that have made a turnaround. And so I mentioned Jay and Judy. When Jay came to see me originally, he was literally riding in his car backwards. It hurt him to sit down. He had a back problem as well as neuropathy. He thought it was related to his arches. Bottom line, he had discopathy or disc pain, and he had numbness in his feet. He had both, and we had to work on everything. But now
I considered going to the good shoe store, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Good foot store, and I thought maybe that would make a difference. So I haven't went down that road yet. So I'm figuring. So I'm just still trying to understand what's going on.
And shoes can be important for sure, Ty, but they don't fix the underlying problem unless it is an arch problem and you get a good shoe and then it solves that for you. But neuropathy is a different scenario, and you'll see why here in a minute. But footwear is really important. Don't hear me dismissing that, but it's not the solution to make it go away, right? Rick, if anybody wants Rick's number, let me know. He said he is more than happy to talk to anybody that wants it. I called him not this past summer, the summer before, so he wanted his number. And I said, just to honor that relationship and say, hey, Rick, somebody wants your number. Do you mind if I give them your number? And they said, hey, that's great, but I'm on a glacier in Alaska right now. Can I call you when I'm back in town? I was like, of course, why are you picking up the phone when you're, on a glacier in Alaska? But point is, he got to travel again. But his real why, the reason he was here, was he had a son with special needs, and he wanted to be there to be the dad that his son needed, and just, the heart of gold, Rick's a great guy. But doing a ton better. And Sandy, where she came in, she's in bad shape, hard to walk, right? And a lot of pain in the legs now. Right leg is pain-free. Left leg is feeling better. And treatment is helping, and it's worth every penny. Those are Sandy's words. So, today we're I like to measure success. So what's today's measure of success? I want you to understand the root cause of neuropathy, what drives this problem, okay? Then I'm going to show you an experience of what our process is actually like. Why do we win when other systems have failed? And then hopefully get some hope back. Maybe you're getting a little bit already and seeing some people that are won. And if you're okay, then I'd like to share a special opportunity we made for you guys for showing up today. How's that sound like a plan? Mm-hmm. So here we go. Let's do the first one now. So I want to show you what causes neuropathy. And so if you put your hand up like this, there's a little demonstration here. That's going to be your nerve cell. Everybody put your hand up. Everybody at home, put your hand up like that. That's your nerve cell. These would represent the blood vessels that feed that nerve cell. Okay? So if you were to squeeze that and make a fist as tight as you can for about 15 minutes, what are you going to notice?
Numb.
Might get numb. What else might you notice?
Joint pain.
Yeah, pain, right? What else might you notice? Anything?
I'm tired.
Fatigue or tired weakness, right? Yeah, so that sounds like neuropathy symptoms. You can raise your hand if you haven't already. So does that make sense? When you start to choke the blood supply off and you're suffocating that nerve and you're starving it of the nutrients it needs to do its job, it's going to yell at you, right? Like if you're on the job and you don't get all the things you need, you're not getting paid, you start hollering. Same thing with the nerve, okay? So that's what causes neuropathy symptoms. Thankfully, with the hand scenario, if you put your arm over a chair, it goes numb, you take the pressure off, it goes back to where it was. But with neuropathy, it's degenerative. And so that process never goes away until you get to the root cause of that. Does that make sense? So talking about root cause, the better question is, what causes this? Now that we know that causes neuropathy, what allows the body to do this, right? Or what are the causes of this? So to answer that, the literature shows there's literally over 100 different reasons why this can happen. Right, so that's anything, and most common would be, what do you think most common might be? Any ideas?
Alcohol.
Alcohol's up there, right? Because that dysregulates blood sugar. It's a poison to nerves. We know this. Alcohol can be a major one. The number one would be blood sugar problems or diabetes, right? And alcohol is a close cousin to that. But you bring up a really good point with poisons. So other things like heavy metal toxicity. Some people are leaching metal out of their mouth from their old fillings. Some people are welders and they've got heavy metal exposure. Or like my dad had Agent Orange exposure from Vietnam.
How about carbon dioxide?
Yeah, anything that's environmental pollutant or poison, nerves never really get along with them very well.
They told me it might have been what my root cause was because I worked in a warehouse, propane forklifts.
Carbon monoxide is not.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
Supposedly they tested it, but the manager tested it, and oh, it's fine.
Right.
Ratings are good.
It's within the level, yeah.
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 I worked at a junkyard for like 20, 30 years. My parents owned it. And driving a bulldozer around on a shell on a dusty day, I would breathe tons of that. You're talking battery acid, power steering fluid, whatever cars had with that power. And I breathed that for so many years. And I knew probably something could go wrong. I'd be dead a long time ago, but somehow I'm still here.
Yeah. So maybe your systems work.
I don't know what really got into me. So I combination of probably from drinking, probably eating weird stuff, and digesting chemicals accidentally. So I'm wondering if you can reverse it by just not doing that anymore. Like saying I don't work at a junkyard anymore. And
sometimes
I don't drink as much. So I don't think I'm trying.
Right. And so that's a good point though. You have to eliminate what was driving the problem, right? And so if it is toxic exposure, you have to eliminate what's the poison. But by the same token, then you need to be able to clean out what you accumulated. And sometimes people are more efficient at that than others. And if you've got the body type or the design where those detox pathways are limited, then you're going to hold on to those poisons, typically in body fat. Yeah. That's where they're stored. And if you don't have a lot of body fat, then you're going to store it in nerves are encased in what?
Blood.
In fat. So your brain's primarily fat. All of your nerves the major ones are encased in fat. And so those poisons have a predisposition to go and bother the nerves then. So that's, I don't usually get that detail on it, but you guys are talking about it, that's important. Yeah, so bottom line is nerves don't like poisons, right? And that's we got to make sure that it's cleaned out. Root cause, that's what we're going for there. Number next, so again, symptoms, if you think about a plant, right? And you see the symptoms of a wilting plant, it's drooping and it's dying, you might change the soil. If you want to staple some green leaves on it, it's going to look good. You can symptom manage, right? But it's not going to fix the plant. You got to change the soil. You got to do all the right things, water it, sunlight, and so on. Nerves are very similar. To get to, and this is what traditional medicine is really good at treating in terms of symptom management. They can make you feel a little better here, but they can't fix the root cause, which is gut health. That's a big one. So we talked about food a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But more than half of your immune system lives in the GI tract. And so if your gut's off or you've got food reactions, you have things like that, it creates inflammation in the whole body and nerves get bad. Okay? A little bit more about that. Macronutrients, that's your proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And in America, we typically eat too much what? Carb. Yeah. Well, we're typically carb heavy. All the yummy pastas and cakes and cookies, right? All that, all the good comfort foods. And those carbs, again, turn into sugar in the bloodstream, and then sugar can damage the nerve. Even if you're non-diabetic or pre-diabetic, that can still, over time, bother the nerves. Micronutrients, you had mentioned lipoic acid. That would be one of them. Other major ones are B12, folic acid, B6. Things like that are critical for the nerve to work properly. And if you don't have enough of them, or you've got maybe heavy metal exposure, lipoic acid gets chewed up in that detox process. We're stabilizing that one. And then you don't have enough for the nerve to work. So it's like...
Can you repeat those?
What is B12?
Yeah, B12, B6, folic acid, lipoic acid. Those are some of the main nutrients there. And then you need the good essential fatty acids. We talked about the nerve being encased in fat. So you need good, healthy fats, typically a good fish oil, something like that. You want to skip seed oils. We know those are more inflammatory, so like canola oil and all that sort of stuff is no good. All right? So those are a really big deal. It's making sure you have the right healthy fats. We've been lied to for decades now about fats. And, it's come out more recently with trans fats and all this kind of stuff. Butter's actually fine. Butter's, use good old-fashioned organic butter. So you don't want butter spray in your butter. That's right. So that's why organic can be helpful and important. Getting clean food that doesn't have the poisons in it is what your body needs to run. It's kind of a basic common sense sort of thing, but it's harder to do these days. Oxygen deprivation, that can be anything from, say, a lung condition or smoking or things like that would make the oxygen depleted. Sedentary lifestyle also goes with oxygen deprivation. So if you're sitting around, right, you're not pumping blood and getting things moving. And then underlying neurological weaknesses could be genetic. There are certain genetic conditions like, it's escaping me at the moment. Charcot-Marie-Tooth, you don't need to know these names, but these are genetic terms or conditions where there's weaknesses in the nerves and can develop into that. And some people just have a genetic deficiency in B12 where their body needs more of it to run. So normal on a lab does not mean it's normal or ideal for that particular individual. And so we can kind of look into those details. But those are the big picture underlying root causes. So does it make sense to go after root cause to get the nerve to heal up again? That's what we're trying to do here. Okay? So the only way to restore and reverse neuropathy is to restore the nerve function. And the way we do that, we found 3 breakthrough secrets that make that win. Okay? So number 1 is called oxygen and angiogenesis. So angiogenesis is creating new blood vessels. That's what that term means. And what you see here is a thermal image. Red and white are the normal colors. That's good blood flow, good heat. Anything that's not red or white is not acceptable in my office. Okay? So on the initial scan, June 2nd here, what are you seeing with the feet?
Cold.
Yeah, you can see the hands are nice and torso, legs are all fine. We're just losing blood flow to the extremity, to the feet. About 6 weeks later, July 18th, what are you seeing now?
More red blood flow.
Yeah. And when that starts to come back, you got more of this going on. You can start to heal the nerve. Pretty fun, right?
Yeah.
So that's a way we can measure and monitor progress with that.
How far apart was those pictures?
About 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah. Yep. So applying that principle in angiogenesis is a big deal, and I'll let Betty share her story with this, but a little setup for that, the background on this one. Betty was one of my first patients in practice, and she had a back problem, and I'm a chiropractor. That worked out really well, so we got better pretty quick. And then she said, "Doc, hey, I've got some neuropathy going on. Can you help me with that?" I was like, "Betty, I don't know. We learned some things in school about it, but not like, they didn't really teach us much, right?" So I said, "Well, let's try some things and see what we can do." And so we put a plan together for her and got her going on that. And guess what happened? We got 0. Bill, we got nowhere. We struck out on the first go-round. Yeah. So then what do you do when that happens, right? You go back to the drawing board. Instead of having is like, you fail on a project, you figure out something new, and you put a new plan together, right? So that's what we did. We put a new plan together for her, and then guess what happened? 0, strike 2. We got nowhere again. Yeah, right. Now it's like, but so I'm just letting you know, like, we've been through this process a lot with trial and error to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And then we found what we're using now that's winning. And so let her share her story. But she's going to mention some numbers in here I want you to pay attention to. Nerves, when they die, there's 3 stages to that. There's acute, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, kind of like a cancer scenario, right? Stage 2 is worse. Stage 3 is pretty severe. Stage 4, there's going to be permanent nerve damage. When you get to 85% loss of feeling, in other words, you can't feel, you're only feeling 15% of what's normal. That's usually the point of no return. There's going to be some nerve damage in there. Does it make sense? Some permanent nerve damage.
Can you like notice that with the eye to look at the tissue and say, the color of it? Or
I mean, sometimes you can get a good idea, like this is bad, like this doesn't look right. But as far as what they can and cannot feel is that's variable depending on the person.
Yeah, because for me to look at my own feet, to me they look like they're fine, but sometimes it's like they're in a bucket of ice cold water.
Yeah, and again, that's perception in the brain. It's not like what the actual visual tissue looks like. Sometimes you can look at a foot and go, "Oh, that's an unhealthy foot," and you'll see a picture here in a minute. We got one for you. But yeah, you can't always look at it and determine if there's a problem or not with the foot. So that's a really good point. A couple other items here. So number one is 85% is a point of no return. That's kind of our tipping point, right? The location is going to look different. This is my office in Lancaster. I was there for 15 years before I moved up this way. And then no, the treatment does not turn your hair white. That's the other question I get with that. So with that, I'll let Betty tell her story. And you can hear it in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm here with Betty, and she's been, how long been in the neuropathy program now?
Over 2 months.
About 2 months. And you started, and you were pretty high percentages from
Yes. If I'm correct, I'm 88% loss.
88%, right.
Right, and 78 on that.
Yeah, and we weren't really sure, like, I don't know if this is going to help initially.
Yes.
So tell me, what were you experiencing when you first came in with the neuropathy symptoms?
Yeah, extremely restless at night, and my toes area especially hurt. It was an unusual, it was hard to define or describe the ache that's there. Sometimes it felt like my feet were freezing, and yet when I touched them, they weren't cold.
Right, that sensation of the freezing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, what's been your experience since you knew to start the program?
Well, I don't experience the restlessness or the pain.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and that's only with 2 months, and I
Right.
have time to go yet, so I'm very delighted.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
Yeah.
where this turns out for you, because I know when we looked at your last set of numbers, it was, you're doing, I think, it was less than 40%.
It's 31,
It's 31 on one side and
31 on the other.
on the other. Oh, is he?
Yes.
See, you know
Yes.
better than I do. That's great.
That's
So that's a huge change from, 80s.
It is.
That's wonderful.
And I'm so grateful, but the thing that really blesses my heart is my older sister is numb from her knees down,
Mm-hmm.
and now from her hands to her elbows.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping I could avoid that, and
Sure.
really with God's help and your help, I'm doing that.
Yeah, we're really thankful to be a part of that, and
Yes.
that we get to be a part of your story with that. Thanks
Yes.
so much for sharing that. Do I have your permission to share this with other people, other patients, other students, other doctors?
Sure.
Any
Yes,
conditions
indeed.
on sharing that?
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
thanks so much, Betty.
You're welcome.
All right. Did that make sense?
Question.
Yeah.
Okay, so she comes in with 88 in one foot and 78 in another foot. She's
Yep.
down to 33.
Yep.
How do you get those numbers? Are they a subjective thing,
Great
or are
question.
they actually scientifically determined?
Yeah. So, great question, Brian. The answer to that is it is subjective because everybody's feeling and pain levels are their own, right? There's no two people that can identify that, and there's no machine that can tell you what you're feeling can't feel. So the version we use is adapted from the Toronto scale, and that's been scientifically validated for decades in the literature. So those are the testing we're using, and it's sensory testing. We would use a pinwheel, ice, heat, like all these various different things you can feel, and then your own perception of what that is the validated version of that. Great question. Yeah, but there is a subjective element for sure. Now, on the other diagnostic side, right, they can do EMGs and all that to find out about motor, and they can actually measure motor function. How well does a muscle contract, and do you have all those kind of things? We can measure balance, we can measure all these other items. We can measure blood flow, but the sensory part, there is a subjective element. Okay, yep, great question. The difference between these two videos is 6 years, and so you will see the long-term effects that this kind of treatment can have. Now, it didn't take her 6 years to get there. You can see in 2 months she got a lot better. I think for her, she got all of her feeling back, 100%, and all of her motor was staying normal as well. And it took her, I want to say, around 9 months to get maximum for her condition, because she was in severe stage 3. But this is okay. So this is what about a 6 or so year follow-up. Yeah. So tell me what your symptoms are now for the neuropathy.
Well, but it's good unless I eat sweets.
Okay.
Then I have misery in my feet.
Gotcha.
Big time.
But otherwise, you don't really need your equipment right now, and you're not really using that as part of your care plan anymore.
Correct.
You just stay on the diet for it.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And that's fantastic long-term results and so far, especially because your sister was in that shape.
Yes.
And you've avoided that. Thank God for that.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Thank you so
Thanks,
much
guys. Appreciate it.
for what you do as well.
Bless you. Thank you.
Is that the same lady you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the hair, it seems like she aged quite a bit.
Yeah. And like I said, 6 years
That's how it
between,
happens,
and it was dyed here, and she didn't like me saying that. But yeah, and she had some other health situations going on in her story, but particularly for the neuropathy, gone, and she was non-diabetic. But she noticed when she had sweets, and when she would feel her feet. Yeah. So that's the long-term kind of results we can get with this. And she still plays with her kids, her grandkids. And her sister, unfortunately, wasn't around our office or any of my colleagues, and she was in a wheelchair. And so I'm like, I'm just so grateful we had that time with Betty to help her with that. So yeah, good questions. Let's get that one. There we go. So that was angiogenesis, repairing blood flow back to that nerve. Number 2 then is inflammatory regulation. You've probably all heard that inflammation is the driver of everything bad in our health, right? So that's a major player we have to work on is regulating inflammation. Some of the top triggers are prolonged stress, right? Like when you go through a global pandemic, for example, it does more of this than this. Let alone whatever else might be under with work or family or these other stressors we have in our world. Other ones are pathogens. So chronic viral infection, Lyme disease, major in Pennsylvania. Okay, there's another tick-borne illness that's in that same family as Lyme that's known to cause neuropathy symptoms called Bartonella. Okay, so there's pathogens can be part of this puzzle too. Obviously, processed foods and bad fats, we kind of talked about that a minute. Sugar's another major one. Diet low in anti-inflammatory foods, chemicals, medications, particularly statin drugs, are known to cause neuropathy. Chemotherapy causes neuropathy. So there's things out there that are known to make this problem happen. We mentioned
if you're on blood pressure meds?
I'm on a statin.
no, not blood pressure meds are different. Statins in particular are related to, some of them are related to neuropathy symptoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Ambien.
Ambien is more of a sleep med, if I'm not wrong. More like
That's like the only
atorvastatin or Lipitor, things like that. The ones to bring your cholesterol levels down, those are associated with neuropathy. Yeah. Good question. Heavy metals, we mentioned that. Another major one. So here's what we don't usually know in the general public, but they found out in a rat model, they exposed the mom to lead, and they tagged the lead so you could watch it, right? And then 5 generations later, that same lead was passed down to the 5th generation. So the mom's placenta is really good at keeping out microbes and pathogens, but it's not good at keeping out toxins and poisons. And so you likely have inherited, like we all have, the heavy metals and poisons from the previous generations, and that can also then, in susceptible people, have more of an impact. So just because you didn't lick lead paint and all that stuff necessarily, you might have gotten some of that exposure from previous generations in the body, and then when you get to a certain age, it starts to come out more because the bone's demineralizing. So there's other reasons we now know that are causative in that arena. So metals are a big deal, and chronic dehydration is another one. 80% of the population is walking around dehydrated, are the estimates. So typically you should be getting, anybody know how much water would be a rule of thumb?
What's it, 10 8-ounce glasses or something like that?
Yeah, so that would be, so roughly 80 ounces. Typically it's about half your body weight in ounces. So depending on, what size you are and height, weight, all that kind of thing, you'll need about, I'd say minimum half gallon a day is what you need to shoot for. but 80 ounces, even, a little better. So yeah, that's important. If you don't have enough water, you can't flush toxins out. You can't make energy. Like, so many things are water dependent.
Can you overhydrate?
Oh, it's extremely hard to do, but you can do that. Yeah. Yeah. There are stories of that in colleges and crazy things like that. But yeah, that's rarely an issue, is overhydration. If you're drinking 2 gallons a day, you're probably pushing it too hard. You need electrolytes in there too, magnesium, potassium, and so on. But generally speaking, you need more water. Okay, that's on the average. So when we applied this to Isabel, she got amazing results. She came in and she's like, "Doc, I'm gonna have to give you a bill." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I have to get a whole new wardrobe now. I've lost 70 pounds and my entire life is different. I need, we're just kind of a playful exchange." But she said, "I'm on top of the world, flying on a cloud." She had type 2 diabetes and is now completely gone. She no longer has diabetes. Completely changed her life. Wow. And she said, "I'm feeling the best I have in my body at age 53. And a year ago, I was told that I was very sick, and her story goes on and on and on. But that's what she had time to write down on the whiteboard. But we talked about detoxification, change her lifestyle, change what she's eating, got her on an anti-inflammatory diet. Hydration was another key for her, because sugar eliminates water. And light therapy was another major player, and we'll see more of that here in a minute when we do our demo. Okay? So that's the other one, is getting rid of inflammation. Big changes on that one. A little about me, why am I even qualified to tell you this stuff, right? I've been doing this for 20 years now. Advanced certifications with the ICAK and NET. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but basically these are international colleges that have a bunch of doctors that are now in holistic health. A lot of the docs in Europe are actually medical doctors. So this is dentists, medical doctors, chiropractors, anyone with a license to diagnose that is waking up and saying, "We are tired of living with medication and surgery as our only major options." And this is a group of people that get together and talk about best practices and how to help people with that. I got to teach anatomy and physiology for a while. I've been doing neuropathy specifically for over 7 years now. Seen over 2,200 cases, countless seminars, well over 1,000 hours, and now they invite me to speak and consult for other doctors and come up with protocols at work when one of them have failed. So that's a little bit about my background with this stuff. But I never really wanted to learn any of that, to be honest with you. That was never like, "Hey, sign me up, I'm going to go to school and treat neuropathy," right? Anybody else learn the hard way? School of hard knocks, yeah.
What was your original notion? What you were going to...
Yeah, it was primarily working on, spine and structure and, some chemistry in there too. We did a lot with food allergies and that kind of thing. Gut health was still one of my main background pieces. But I never really wanted to get into the neuropathy realm. And it was really kind of a calling for me more than anything. And so I'll share that story with you if you got a minute with that one. And so my dad, I mentioned him a little bit ago. He fought 2 tours in Vietnam and had Agent Orange exposure, among other things, right, that go with military life. And so he was a tough guy. He was 101st Airborne. He's a Ranger. Did things he never told me about, which I'm grateful for. I probably don't want to know, but so he could handle it, right? He could deal with it, and he managed very well. And but one thing we noticed, he sort of loses balance a little bit. "Oh, I can handle it, it's okay." And so, would minimize it a bit. And of course, you don't want to bring something up because you want to nag him or, that weird dynamic that can happen within families. But he also, great guy, had a heart of gold. And fast forward to the story here, our neighbor was having a litter of puppies. And he went up to the shed to get the kennel, go help the neighbor out. And he's coming down the steps, and he lost his balance. And he fell and he broke his neck. And he was on the steps for over an hour because we thought he was going to help the neighbor out.
Yeah. And
so my mom calls me, she's like, "Hey, your dad fell," and she's in shock, So it didn't sound like it was a big deal at the time. But that part is like, something's going on. Maybe go check this out a little more. So I went down and drove down to the hospital. And I'll never forget when I walked in and I saw the films and they're like, we got your dad in traction. And you just see the neck just, in splinters. And they're like, we're doing the best we can, but he's going to be a C5 quad. In other words, he can raise his elbows, but he's going to have a hard time feeding himself. And, they at least saved that portion of what he had left. But he couldn't hug his kids and grandkids, couldn't walk and hunt again. Like all these things he loved to do. And so I know firsthand what that's like going through that experience and then seeing, goodness, that was a decade ago now. He was looking at putting a simple, he had a 2-story house. So it was a first floor, would have put a first floor master and bathroom, ADA compliant bathroom on that because he was in a chair. And back then was $50,000, for nothing fancy, just, basic stuff. It's probably double or triple by now. So like seeing the financial impact, seeing and with all that in mind, he decided to go to a nursing home and spend his days there. So like it changed our family dynamic completely. And I thought, if I can help one person not live through that, if I can help, a grandfather still play with their grandkids and go to the games and like, man, that's why we're doing this. That's why I had to go learn all this stuff, spend time with my own family, figuring this stuff out so we can bring that to you. Because, let's face it, Big Pharma is not going to be contributing to education like this, right? And so, that's why we do these free summers, because you guys need to know there's another way out there and it doesn't have to end like that. So does that make sense? That's where we're coming from. That's why I had to figure this out. That's why we specialize in neuropathy now. And so that's why it's like I had to win, right? So let's get down to brass tacks and actually show you what this stuff looks like. Who's ready to do that? All right, let's get you guys up out of your chairs. We're gonna do this together. We're gonna do a little bit of a balance test to bring some awareness to what's going on in your body. Okay. So I'm gonna.
I'm disabled, so my left side's weak. So I'm obviously not gonna. I'm gonna be falling all over.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, number one, if you're uncomfortable doing them, don't feel like you need to do that.
Yeah, you're on the wrong side.
Okay.
If I'm falling,
if he's falling, look at the guy next to you and say, "Hey, I got your back." But I'll explain the test first, and then if you're wanting to try them and you're comfortable trying them, then I invite you to do that. And we'll do that. So don't do these yet. Just listen to the explanation. So one is you'll stand there, your feet as close together as you can, and your hands are on your hips, and we're going to close our eyes for 10 seconds. All right, don't do it yet, Bill. Hang tight. If you pass that one, that's baseline. Everyone should be able to do that in 10 seconds. That'd be number one. Okay, second test is being hands on the hips, one leg up, like so, 10 seconds. If you pass that one, the third one then is eyes closed, one leg up. 10 seconds. Does that make sense?
So if we pass, you keep saying if we pass out, then you.
No, I'm sorry. If you pass that test, hopefully no one passes out.
You just kept going.
Yeah.
After that, you didn't finish your sentence. So I'm thinking, okay, if we pass out, and then you're like, and then. Right.
Yeah, I love showing the pass out. Let me rephrase that. If you complete that test successfully, passing the test, then you would go on to the next one. Okay, so if you're feeling uncomfortable with any of these, again, don't feel like you have to try that, but this is to bring some awareness on maybe how severe your things are doing for you, okay? So here we go. You ready? Do you have I don't know, watch your timer. I can't even do a 10-second thing. Do we have someone somewhere?
Yeah.
I just have my watch on, but I left that home today.
I'll grab one.
I know I have balance problems. I
You
see
balance?
these little YouTube reels that have policemen out doing sobriety tests.
Yeah.
And there's no way I can pass them.
Really?
They say,
Yeah. Yeah, one leg in front of the other.
They haven't had a drink for 10 years,
Yeah.
but I can pass it.
Yeah. So, if you're already aware of that, these are more advanced testing than we're even doing here, but that's super common, Brian, to have, doing this is even Yeah, so we're keeping it simpler for today's purposes. Okay, so when Doc says go, which is Dr. Mitchley, by the way, he's going to be helping us with the treatment. And so we'll do feet together, hands on the hips, and when Doc says go, he'll count to 3 and we'll do 10 seconds.
1, 2, 3, go. Stop.
All right. So, pretty much everybody passed that one.
I should have passed it. I just got a little dizzy.
Yeah, that's okay. That's,
I can do it. But
yeah, some days are better than others and time of day and a lot of variables there. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is okay, we passed it, but 10 would be, I feel totally fine on my feet. I can do this all day long. That's not a problem. 0 is I'm about to fall over or I'm losing my balance. On a scale of 1 to 10, who was more than a 5 on that? Who was on the better side of balance?
Probably better.
A 5 in the
A
middle.
little.
Yeah, a little wobbly, but you can hang in there for a bit. Anybody lower than a 5 on that one? Yeah, Peter, and lower than a 5 as well. Ty, where were you at on that, do you think?
No, I feel fine.
That was okay?
Yeah.
Cool. If you're wanting to do the next one, it's going to be, again, hands on the hips, eyes open, and one leg up when we count to 3 here.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
Oh, you pushed me.
Yeah, you did, yeah. So trickier, right?
I didn't even try.
Yeah.
I'm more expensive than my right leg.
So I think because everyone was, except for Bill, got pushed on that one.
Sorry about that.
I was going on.
We'll kind of pass the, on that third one, it's like if you're old. So we'll just get the eyes closed one. But that second one, if you have neuropathy, is commonly gets most people. Unless it's super early stage, that's really challenging to do in just one leg for 10 seconds. So that could be an indicator that that's going on for you, okay? So with that in mind, let's we're gonna demo this. We're gonna do a couple things. We're gonna actually pick someone to get a treatment today, a mini treatment, not the full thing. We'll show you the major pieces of that. We're gonna check balance, which we kind of already did, pre and post. We're gonna check some range of motion and some strength for balance muscles. All right? Anybody not want to experience that? Bill, Brian's like, you don't want to be in.
I want to ask a lot of questions. I may have a follow-up.
Awesome. Yep. So thanks for your honesty on that one.
And can I ask you one question before
Yeah.
you do this? Like, what about all the similar conditions that may or may not be present, like peripheral atherosclerosis,
Oh yeah.
venous insufficiency? I mean, could those be a reason for some of this problem versus?
Right. To be fair,
Sorry.
balance is, in this kind of context, balance can be several variety of things, right?
And can you
Yeah.
differentiate between those before you start treatment?
Usually that's where history comes in. We might need to do other diagnostic or testing or things have already been done. But yeah, we look at those kind of elements. Yeah, great question. Okay, so let's pick. We're going to go with Ty here, I think. Because you're a little wobbly, Brian, or Bill's a little more solid. And Peter, you might have some other challenges going on that I don't want to make you more compromised with that. So one quick question would be, do you have any electrical implants, nothing with wires in you?
No.
So, okay, cool.
Smoke
Good,
coming out of
because
your ears.
I-
sounds-
I got defibrillators.
You have a okay, yeah. So that would be it's not a deal breaker for treatment, but for what we need to do today, it'd be a better to skip that until we know for sure. Okay, awesome. You can have a seat, and Ty, let's bring you right here. Give me a hand. Okay. All right. So let's have you let this shoulder relax. I'm going to check range of motion as well, because sometimes when we start improving or changing the nervous system, we may or may not see balance improvement. We might see something else change. So just to measure something else today, can you see that shoulder higher than the left one? You notice that he's got a little,
I see it the other way from this angle, just a little bit.
from your angle, it's the other way around.
This is a little lower.
Yeah. It's right shoulder high.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So when I look at
one
that,
leg is longer than the other one, the doctor told me that one time.
That may be true too. The muscle that holds the shoulders level is the lat. That's one of the main ones. So we're going to test that to see if it's doing its job. Turn your thumb back for me, elbows straight, arms straight.
That's great.
Yeah, let me have it. Just let it
Okay.
relax. Hold it right there. You're going to pull that into your waist. I'm going to pull it out.
Okay.
Resist my pressure.
Okay.
Yeah, resist my pressure. And so that one's not firing properly. Okay? Let's try the other one here. Thumb back. Hold that one in tight. And let's bring your shoulder in. Yeah, there you go. Give you a little better advantage with that one. And that one's not going anywhere. Feel the difference with that?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Now, to be fair, that has nothing necessarily to do with neuropathy. The nerve for that comes from his neck. We're just noticing that there's an inhibition in that muscle. It's turned off. And it should not be in this posture. Okay?
I see he's a little lower, like kind of bent a little bit or something.
Well, I had my spleen removed, so I have less guts on one side.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, again, this is demo for that person. Let this relax completely.
Okay.
And we're just going to check motion here. And that one's moving pretty good. Mm-hmm. And let that one go loose here. That one's a little more locked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feel the difference on that one?
Yeah.
So, just again, things we're noticing here. So let's have you sit down in the chair here. And you know what we should do is actually measure that one leg standing, and then we can see if there's a pre and post. That'll be one of our winners. So let's have you stand up like one more time. And then you'll do hands on the hips when you're ready. We got the timer handy here, so we have a timer.
Yeah.
We'll do the official timing then. On your strongest leg then,
Okay, I think this one.
yeah, when you're ready, he'll watch your leg. Put that down for a second.
All right.
You ready, Doc?
I'm ready. 3,
All right.
2,
Strong
1,
leg.
go.
Yeah. I'm not gonna fall.
And give it another try.
Yeah, I've got my right leg.
Eyes shut.
I'm ready. Go.
Yeah, it's hard. I never knew it was that hard. Like 4 seconds.
Okay, so he's like
Yeah.
2-ish, and we're generous, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's what I do when I do.
4.
Okay, and those eyes closed,
Yeah.
and so challenging.
Yeah, it is. My
Okay.
my ankle feels kind of weak.
Does it?
Kind of
Would
wobbly.
it be different if your eyes open? Just-
My
Likely better, yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
If my eyes open, it's not as hard. It's still shaky.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Tell me he's at 10.
10.
Okay,
So,
So-
I'm using muscles that I'm not really familiar with.
sure.
Like doing.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we got some balance numbers to check. We got you passed it with eyes open, right? Eyes closed. You got about 4 seconds. Generously, so we'll see just something else to measure on that, right? Okay,
I'm thinking if I would practice that, I'd probably get better at it.
and
but
that
I
may be
figured-
true as well. We're just gonna build the pathways. So we're gonna have a seat and chair there. Yeah. And then we're going to check muscles that are working or needed for balance and stability, right? So we've got muscles on the front of the leg, muscles on the back of the leg. Let's see who's working and who's not. Can you bring your knee up in my hand here? Just gonna, yeah,
Okay.
raise it up. Hold that up strong. And that's good. Resistance. Try the other one here. Hold that one up. Okay, that one's a little weaker. Notice that?
Yep.
Try this one again. And do this one again. Yeah, this is fun here, isn't it? Yep. Okay.
I can feel that in my hips.
You feel that in the hips. Bring your toe up, your ankle up. Yeah. And I want you to pull the heel back towards your,
Okay.
pull back that way. Then do the hamstring. That's good. Put the toe down and pull the heel back again. And that's the calf. And so that one's not as strong with that one.
Yeah.
Let that drop down here. And then heel on the floor. Yep, keep that up. We're going to push down the top of the foot. Pull that up. Okay, and that one's actually quite weak as well. Okay, so other leg here. Point the foot out here for me. Pull the heel back. Hamstring, put the toe down. Pull that back. Again, calf muscle not firing. You're noticing that too. You're seeing the weakness in the cramp.
Oh, great.
Yeah. That's all right now? Okay. Heel on the floor. Yeah, I thought it might be a little longer. That's all right, take your time. Is that all right now? Good. Heel on the floor. Yeah, kind of like, bring the toes up for me. Yeah, right like that. I'm going to push on the top of the foot again. Hold that one up. And that's decent with that one. So in general, we got calves out firing, and we've got the left golden tibia out anterior, a little weaker. Are you with me? And he's got quad on the right. We're right at this femor's on the right. Okay? Are we seeing the same thing? Okay? So we're going to now work on this so you can feel any different. Okay? So we can get some functional changes. Take your socks and shoes off for me. And while Ty is doing that, I'm going to explain what's going on here on the screen here. So this is our breakthrough. Number 3 are the accelerators for nerve healing. Number 1 was oxygen angiogenesis, 2 is inflammation reduction, and 3 are the rocket boosters for nerve healing, okay? So here's what that looks like. This is a digital electrotherapeutic stimulator. Who's heard of a TENS unit? Yeah, TENS does not work for neuropathy, okay? It works for other things, pain and muscle stim, things like that, but it does not work for neuropathy. TENS is like 1950s technology. It sends one signal from the unit out to wherever the leads are going. This guy will actually send a signal out. The brain then receives that signal, changes its function, sends back. It also receives and the unit is picking up what the nerve is doing and sending out a new signal. So it's constantly in contact with the nerve tissue and the muscle tissue. And so this bottom line is it rehabs the nerve signal to the brain and the spine. There are a couple different options in terms of what technology we might use, but that's generally the bottom line is rehabbing the nerve signal. Okay? The other one here.
Electric stimulus.
Yeah, you'll feel like a 9-volt kind of, ideally you feel a 9-volt kind of sensation with that. Are you feeling anything with
I
that?
actually have one of these machines at home that are similar and have different settings on it. Like, they're pretty powerful.
Yeah.
But I don't use it as often as I like to. I don't have time sometimes.
Yeah.
I took that right here.
So that might be a thing for Ty. He might already have some tools he needs. But that's a major one. When we can repair that nerve signaling, then the brain says, okay, I remember what that feels like. It can rewire that pathway. Another major one is vibration. You ever push a mower? Right? What happens to your hands when you push a mower? They get numb. That's the wrong vibration, pushing blood out of your hand and irritating that. We get the right vibration in, and it starts to bring blood flow back and actually rehab the balanced nerve pathways. Right? So this improves balance and enhances circulation. A couple different versions. This is a major one. We usually have the other one literally right there, but we use that for therapy on another patient earlier today. It didn't get moved back over. So there's a standing variety if you need more help with that, or if you have a joint replacement, we typically recommend a seated version so that you're not damaging, replaced joints, things like that. Or if balance is a really big deal, seated is safer. So options is the point. Bottom line, balance improves and gets circulation into the tissue again. Remember, that's one of the main things driving neuropathy, and when the nerve can't get the blood flow, it can't process properly. The other thing you're seeing here is red light. Laser is researched 6 weeks from Sunday to actually bring blood flow to the area, relieve pain, and create new blood vessels. Okay? And so that's what it's doing, restoring blood flow, relieving pain. We also have a couple other lights on in here. Similar concept. We're stimulating the nervous system with light. Light actually stimulates ATP production, which is the chemical your body uses to do things, to do work. It exchanges energy. Okay, so ATP is your energy currency. If you don't make enough of that, the nerve can't work. So we're using light to increase those things, reducing the pain and also the inflammatory chemicals that associate with pain. So light is amazingly helpful for healing that up. Cool thing with this too is the tech changes pretty quickly in this field. We used to have another device that would be a 30-minute session. We can do it now in 1 minute. So we like saving time, right? So, big time. So that's been a big help in compliance in terms of people getting the results that they're after. Yeah. Other piece too is you can use this anywhere else you want. So if you have back pain or shoulder pain or what have you, you can also put that on another area to get some blood flow and some healing into that area as well.
So I would think most people, like with me, it comes and goes. It's not a 24-hour problem with my legs and feet.
Okay.
What if you come in and he's not currently having problems? Is it still overall?
When we do our sensory testing, we can figure out what kind of damage is there. Rarely, I mean, you may have some ebbs and flows, but if the sensory loss is there, that's not ebbing and flowing. If it's coming and going, it's typically maybe a different kind of neuropathy than an actual like blood flow damage. It could be a pinched nerve or an entrapment or something like that. It's coming and going. Does that make sense?
So I have my feet burned. So you're saying that unless they're burning consistently and
No, that can change again depending on inflammation, how well you slept, diet, or you're on your feet all day. Like a lot of variables can affect that. The burning sensation, without getting into too much depth on this, is the C fiber. That's the smallest nerve fiber that says pain. And so different things will light that up. And that can change it and fluctuate. The insidious thing with neuropathy, though, is that typically people go through a phase, oh, it's painful, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not as bad. But that's the nerve dying, and you can no longer feel the pain anymore. And that's actually worse. That's the challenge with neuropathy is usually symptoms get better because you're actually losing feeling, and you're not feeling the things that used to be there that might be freezing feet or, right, all those other miserable symptoms kind of go away when it's all numb. But then you're in a much higher risk category. Yeah.
freezing feet, legs.
Right. So those are the main home care items that we would use and prescribe if that would be indicated for your case, if that's the kind of neuropathy you got going on. And then we've got nutritional protocols that actually work. You've probably seen a million things online, try this, try that, nerve pill, nerve cream, what have you. And if they work, I don't see those people. So I can't say, speak to that too much, but what I do know is the ones we use have been researched left, right, and center, and there are docs literally all over the country using the same protocols, getting the same results. So this has been clinically proven for well over the last decade, helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Is there any diet that doesn't involve eating more fruits and vegetables?
If there is, it's probably actually it's a funny book I heard once.
That's all you hear is, okay, you gotta eat more fruits and vegetables.
There was the South Beach diet a number of years ago, and somebody wrote a spoof on it, the North Beach diet, which is all like donuts and candy and this. Anyway, but the ones that work actually, bottom line is that the food plan is really simple. If you can do veggies, fruits, lean meats, it's kind of that easy. Okay, that's what it takes. So those are the other elements. The other key players, depending on what's going on, right? So if you have a stenosis in your back, you have a disc problem. There might be other therapies needed to get full resolution on what's going on. There's a lot of driving going on, right? Sometimes that compresses the spine more because of gravity. So we're bouncing around. So we got the back on track in the corner here. This will decompress the nerve and take pressure off the disc so that it gets happier and starts to heal that up again. We've saved a lot of back surgeries with that thing and neck surgeries because the disc, we can buy more space in that joint and then free up that nerve signal.
I got another invert table.
Yeah, inversion table is great because of the gravity element.
I had 20 years.
Yeah. Yep, that's really helpful. And then sometimes that's not enough with gravity, so we can get more traction and actually do more significant work with tools like this. But yeah, inversion is fantastic. And then the chair here that Betty's in, the same one that ties in, it's not actually running at the moment, but that's pulse electromagnetic field. So it's a magnet that turns on and off really quickly, and that will then stimulate the nerve to heal. It's like when your cell phone dies, what do? You charge it. This literally charges the cell membrane and charges the cell back up. So it gets more, again, ATP production, moves waste products out, brings good nutrients back in, stimulates the nerve, blood flow, like all the things we're working on. This is a supercharger for that whole process. Okay?
Are there any issues with using any of this stuff on Somebody had a heart attack?
Heart attack, no. Electrical devices, yes. So some of the things would be off limits, right? If you have a implantable, something with a battery in it, we can't use this guy because that does drain the battery. So, when you're on it, no cell phones and all that kind of stuff because it'll actually drain the battery in your phone. So, you don't want to do that and have to have something replaced for, but it's not a deal breaker. We usually get great results with other things. Just that particular item would not be a go. And then depending on where the neuropathy is at, the severity and so on, the digital electrotherapeutic stimulator can also be off the table for that reason as well because of the implantables. I've never seen it be a problem, but some cardiologists are a little touchy and they say, I don't want to mess with that. And so we respect that.
So with all this, neuropathy can affect your spine and your legs. That's why I came in, because I couldn't sleep because my legs, and then all of a sudden my hips, my lower back, and I thought maybe it wasn't just my burning feet.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, Peter. So sometimes you start noticing it lower down and then it kind of creeps up, but it can be spinal involvement as well as metabolic. So that's kind of where we did okay for Betty on round one was working on her back, but that wasn't the main thing driving her. Hers was a metabolic problem. She wasn't getting blood flow there. So we had to work on the chemistry side and get the nerves healed up again. So that's a great point.
Ty, you're glowing.
Yeah.
You're glowing.
Ready to run a mile.
One last one, I told you the gross foot slide was coming, right? So soft weight is in this back room right through here. And you've heard of stem cell therapy? This actually stimulates your body's own stem cells. It's a radio wave, goes through this, kind of looks like an ultrasound. And that actually does amazing healing work. Blood flow is increased, inflammation calms down, speeds healing like crazy. How many treatments to get that result?
100.
Right? You think.
That's the real color of her foot on the other side.
That's before and after.
Before and after.
Holy shit.
Jeez.
One visit.
So neuropathy can make your foot look like that?
It can. Yeah.
And it's not just a visual thing, it's actually the blood flow changed and everything.
Right. You can see up in the leg, he's got pretty good color. But down in here, that's a really bad, sad foot.
And you quit doing that, it's going to go right back to black.
No, that's the thing. Now, it took one to make it look like this. There's typically 8 to 12 that are recommended in the series, right? But we can make that kind of change, which is phenomenal. And then the body starts healing the tissue on its own, and you don't need to keep treating it. So again, it's like the same thing. If you break an arm, put a cast on it, is the cast healing it? No, it's just keeping the interference out so the body can do its own work. So the same idea, we're giving some boosters here, actually give energy into it so it can heal quicker, and then you don't need it just stays that way. Okay?
Do any of these machines do the same thing for like carotid area or erectile dysfunction or increased blood flow all through?
Yeah, so this one in particular, that's why the picture of the knee works amazing on knees, shoulders, joints. This has a local effect, so if there's a implantable, then this is totally fine to use. And but yeah, we can use that all over the body. There's research for head injuries, for you name it. Yeah, absolutely. Shoulders, joints. It's like all your major league baseball, NHL, NFL. They all have this stuff in their training rooms. Okay, in Paris with the Olympic, it's all over the place. The entire country of Austria has it in all their hospitals. Okay, it's like this, and they got nationalized healthcare, so they're trying to keep their costs down. That's one of the ways.
I heard you say neuropathy can cause erectile dysfunction?
Yeah, that can be associated. Again, blood flow problem, right? Yeah, and also lower back spinal goes to reproductive system. So very common to have sexual dysfunction or things like that. Prostate problems can also relate to that same idea. Yeah, great thought. One last one that's really simple, really effective though, is breathing. We need to do that all day long anyway. So here's your breathing tip. Also in your bag is a, look at this one here for Ty's over here. There's a bracelet in here. This is your breathing reminder. If you're like me, it's open house for reminders. So that one is for you. Slide that on your hand. And that's going to be like, hey, I'm going to breathe. And it's also, and I invite you guys to do the same, like grab that thing, put it on. And it's also like a declaration for you that you're committing to you to do something different, right? Do something you learn here today that's going to be like, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to win with this. Let's be honest. Is anybody coming to save you from this stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to make the changes. You got to want to be an active participant in this. There's nothing you can do short of making changes in your life to experience life differently. So this is kind of a, you committing to you to do something better for yourself, your families, and in your sphere of influence. Is that fair? So I invite you to wear that. Now, I recommend this 5 to 10 times every waking hour, realizing you might do it once or twice a day, okay? But if you're doing it once or twice a day, that's more than not. So, quick story, there's a gal that came in, learned this technique, she was on her feet all day long for her job, did it literally 5 to 10 times an hour. In between when she saw the seminar, came in for her appointment, so my feet are already noticing a difference because I'm breathing differently, I'm getting more oxygen to my tissues. So it works. So it looks like this. You inhale for 4. Hold it. Exhale with a hum. Good. Hold it out for 2 and repeat. Breathe in again. Hold. Humming is where the magic happens. It really does. That's the vagus nerve. It connects to all your internal organs, dilates the blood vessels.
Wow.
That's really where the magic happens, is in the hum.
So leave the room when you're done.
Humming? Or do it in your car, red light, whatever. Pop off a couple breaths, right? Yeah. You can do a similar thing if you're in public and you don't want to, scare people or something. You kind of,
Yeah, thanks.
like
It's not going to go over.
a little tap in here, and yeah. So there's other ways to play with that, but that's a big one. One other pro tip on this. Hopefully you all have a memory that you felt gratitude and like heartfelt Thanksgiving, just overflowing with love and like you have a memory like that somewhere in your story. If you picture that emotion, that feeling of gratitude in the heart, and then do this and like feel that gratitude, it works like 10 times better. So I invite you to that one. That's a little extra pro tip on it. It says amazing work for brain chemistry and stress resolution and all kinds of things. And research on that one. Heartmath.com if you want to learn more about all that fun stuff.
Is that like yoga?
You can employ that in a lot of different modalities.
Yeah, my daughter does yoga and she does some things that it's awesome.
Absolutely. So let's say we do a tie.
I can't find time.
Yeah, right. I'm going to bring this up for you here. And let's check those muscles, see if they got better. Stay seated for me first. Yeah, let's try these out again. Raise that to the ceiling for me here. What do you think? Better?
I noticed.
Okay. Point the toe down. Pull the heel back. Sturdier there too. Try the other one here. Toe down. Pull back. Cramp again.
Yeah, I'm going this back muscle right here.
Yeah.
A couple seconds.
He got a chair pretty quick though, didn't he?
So you're pulling on his foot and his upper leg.
Yeah.
Because you're pulling them thigh muscles.
Right, he's contracting both the hamstring and the calf at the same time. And so for whatever reason, there's a cramp in there. We're going to figure out later, but for now.
Probably dehydration.
Yeah, it could be dehydration, could be a number of
I
things.
noticed a couple times when I do a lot of sweating over summertime, drinking water doesn't always quench my thirst.
Right.
So I start drinking Pedialyte, Gatorade, and then I notice sometimes if I don't do that, I'll actually, like at nighttime, I'll get a cramp and I'll wake up and think, really?
Yeah.
And I try to rehydrate.
Yeah, dehydration is a big deal. And then heels on the floor and toes up like that. Yeah, I'm pushing on the top. Don't let me do that. Sturdier there. Cool. Come on up again here. Yeah. And let's check. It was shoulder motion. Here was stuck. Let that relax for me all the way. Nice and soft there. What do you think? Is that different?
It's a little bit painful. I've hurt my shoulder a long time.
Yeah, I can tell there's more going on in the shoulder. But before it was like at 90, he's got, there's definitely some crunching going on.
Yeah.
Maybe a little better, maybe not.
This one feels better. I swing a sledgehammer quite a bit.
Okay, so maybe
I use this side of my body more than I do my left side.
Yeah.
I swing a hammer on my right side, so I should start going on my left side, and I'll probably hurt myself.
Let this relax completely. Let's see about this one here. And that was moving pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
But we didn't break anything. That's good. Pull this here and pull into your side for me, Ty. Hold that in tight there. And that one's now sturdier too. I don't think it's more balanced. Maybe a little, not, posturally not a lot different. When you got the most little fire, a little different. Let's check your balance. Okay. What are you noticing so far? Do the feet feel different? Like, what do you
they don't feel like they're cold.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time?
And a lot of times I'll get a pain like right here on this part of my foot.
Yeah.
And that's the most critical part. I'll feel more obvious than the rest of my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always there, but whenever I put my shoes on, I can feel like there's something pressing on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would feel like I'm hitting it with a hammer. Like it wouldn't be that severe. And
Wow.
now I don't. And now my other feet wouldn't bother me. My other foot wouldn't bother me, but that one would be a problem for me. And then I just noticed I don't feel that right now. Now, if I put my shoes back on, it might be a problem, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like that something definitely happened.
Something's better there.
Oh yeah, I feel better.
You feel better overall, and something's different in there.
Yeah, like my legs just feel the vibration and just feel like the circulation.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Or how to put.
Let's check some balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess truly to compare apples to apples, we test it with your shoes on before we put those back on. We'll check them. Okay. All right. You got to do this by the numbers. Make sure we're not making something up here. While he's doing that, has anybody seen any changes that quickly before? Have you ever experienced something that can make neurological changes that quickly? Yeah. I'm sad you've not been able to see that before, but I'm grateful that you're here to experience that today.
So I'm still having a correlation.
Yeah.
If my feet start to burn after I eat too much sugar, and you do this thing, and then I go eat sugar, you're saying it's going to help it at that point? It's going to help for future.
Great point. What do you think?
You see what I'm saying? When I'm here, I don't have the burning, so you're doing that.
Right.
And my sugar's fine. But when I have too much sugar, then it burns.
Right.
So that therapy that we did earlier today.
Reverse that later on, you mean?
Yeah.
Good question. It'll at least kind of ameliorate some of the damage you're doing.
With pain that's constant?
Depends on the person. Some it's not.
Okay.
But to your question, if you're eating sugar, it's going to kind of counteract everything you're trying to do to heal. But to answer the question, yes, like Betty, when she has sugar in her feet are miserable, which she doesn't do very often, she has equipment to be able to handle it. So she's got the long-term tools and strategies she needs to win, even if she, goes in place with her diet. Now, other people can't.
Well, even it bothers me most when I'm on my feet for a long time. Let's say that's the situation.
Yeah.
Then I get burned. We do this today, and I'm not doing any standing. Then I go home, and I'm on my feet for an hour straight. Is it going to help that situation tonight? What we do today?
Don't know. I have had. We've done a demo, for example, like this, and it's the results have lasted for a day and a half. They're like, my feet feel amazing. Day and a half later. Now, again, depends on the level of severity, how much damage is the nerve, how much do you keep beating it up when you're at home. All these variables come into that. But the point is, if we're doing something like this day in and day out for 90 days, and you're changing diet, and we're using supplements that win, and, right, you see that now we're starting to get traction and progress on this thing, and it can actually heal up. If you're thinking, I just want some equipment to go and keep, using my body, I'm not going to accept that patient. That's a lose-lose. I'm not giving people crutches. We don't do that. If you're serious about making changes and actually getting this gone, that's who we work with. Okay, so does that help me answer that question? Yeah. So
it's like more to me. It seems like the more you do it, the better, the longer it will last.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Like a whole big ball.
It's like going to the gym, right? If you worked out, once a month, you're going to get once a month results. If you're stimulating the muscles in the right way more regularly, you get the result that you're looking for. Nerves are the same way.
It probably took a long time to get where I'm at.
Right.
With my foot. I noticed probably about 5 years ago, I started feeling where my feet driving down the road, summertime, felt like they were cold.
Okay.
And I thought it was kind of odd, and didn't really think much about it. But as the years went on, it started to get progressively worse.
Yeah.
Now to the point where I don't want it to get any worse. So
Right.
now I'm thinking I got to try to reverse whatever created that situation.
And that's a great point. This is rare unless there's an injury, right? This is not an overnight scenario. Develops over years and years and years, and it's usually a slow process. You don't really notice it's there until you notice it's there. Let's do your balance here. All right, does that feel different with your shoes on, or is that
that's comfortable.
Comfortable? Okay. So hands on the hips here. Let's do the one leg up, eyes closed was your weakest one when you're ready. Okay.
Keep my eyes open.
Yeah, let's do eyes open. Right? That was.
It's hard to keep my balance. I never even knew that. It's funny because I always thought I had great balance. I crawl up ladders with the chainsaw.
Yeah.
I never even thought I didn't have good balance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
10.
That's 10 with eyes closed now.
Yeah.
It's better than before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that your experience too? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but last time it was 4 seconds generously, and now we're at 10.
Yeah.
Right? And so again, if we got them to.
Yeah, your 10, you could have gone longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could have kept going too.
Right.
It seemed like it definitely improved.
So we got 4 seconds. Another 4 would be 100% improvement, right? So we got them like 150% better if we're doing percentages. But can you start to see the power in this now?
I'm trying to.
And we didn't even do.
My knee that feels more shaky, but it's a combination of both.
Right.
But I can feel.
Yeah.
That's a quick improvement. Just for that little bit. That
Right.
one-time session. So.
And this wasn't even a full treatment. This is a miniature version.
Like daily or.
Great question. Yeah, let's first of all, give me a hand. Good job getting better. And let's answer your question here, Ty. I want to make sure we kind of respect everybody's time here today. But to answer your question, though, if we're doing this twice a day for 90 days, and you're changing diet, and you're like, we're doing all the right things, we're giving the nerve everything it needs to go from here to here and stay that way. Does that start to make some sense now? Kind of exciting a little bit.
Stay that way even after we stop treatment, or
Yeah.
you gotta continually do this?
Depends on the person, right? I've got stage 2, type 2 diabetics that are pretty advanced, they're insulin dependent, they need it all the time. They need something to keep that going because their body's broken down over the years, beyond what they can repair quickly. So they might need it for a year or two, right? Other people respond dramatically faster, depends on their healing time. The healing process is all the same. It's a matter of what are the complicating factors that delay it or slow it down. So everybody's healing rate can be different, but the process in which you heal is the same. That's why you can use the same protocols literally all over the country, get the same results. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, and again, there might be underlying weaknesses here and there that, you know what I mean? But on the whole, you treat the nerve in the right way with the right tools, the right diet, the right, reducing inflammation, we get the same result. But the nerve can heal up again is the bottom line. Doesn't matter which 100 reasons cause that. We reverse the processing of the body when it needs, it goes away. Or it definitely improves. Okay? So, is that a little encouraging? A little yeah, awesome. So let's keep rolling here. What if you're next? This was amazing. Speaking of type 2 diabetic and insulin dependent, Sherry is not even 2 weeks in. So you can feel her feet again for the first time in 5 or 6 years, she said. Couldn't feel her feet. Now she can start feeling her feet. She was a couple weeks in her treatment. Better balance. I can feel my toes and I'm walking. It doesn't feel weird. Yeah, I haven't felt my toes in 10 years. So these are the stories we get to see. LC balance tries to get better. Her husband would drive her an hour to get here for her appointments. So Leroy got 50% better. He was diabetic, would not give up drinking sweet tea. He's like, I'm addicted to this stuff. I'm not going to stop. So he got minimal results conservatively, but he still improved even with his lack of compliance. So just don't think if you have to be 100% on this, you get better results the more compliant you are. But even if there's not 100% compliance, you can still make some strides. Okay. So we can see how Ty improved. 2 choices: keep managing your symptoms, or explore something new that's actually working. You got to see in real time. This is too good to be true, right? I get that one all the time. How do I know if I qualify for this? So number 1 is we do our assessments, right? We do our testing. We figure out what's going on. Is this a case we can help or not? My promise to you is this: if we cannot help you, or it's something that's outside of our scope, then we're going to refer you into other hands. I've got other providers that I've developed over the last 20 years. We can get you to some help in some hands and give you support for where you would need it. Okay? So my promise to you is this should be a win-win. Either we can accept your case and help you, or we're going to refer you to somebody that can get you some extra help. Does that sound like, is it fair? Yeah, that's how I want to be treated. That's how we just take care of people. How long does it take? The assessment is about an hour, hour and a half. And the healing time varies on your nerve degeneration. So again, if you're in stage 3, 4, you're looking at maybe 18 to 24 months. If you're in acute stage, 1 or low 2, it might be as fast as 90 days to 6 months. So it depends on the amount of nerve damage.
Did you request records from our physician?
Yeah, depending on what that would be. So like if there's been imaging or labs or those kind of things, or any other diagnostics done, it's really helpful to have, so we're not obviously wasting time looking for something, or we're repeating tests that have already been done. We don't want to do that. Yeah, so that's helpful to know.
In other words, if it's something else, then the doctor can say, well, you don't have this, this is what it is. And so in other words, you're treating something that, like if you had cancer, you wouldn't be able to do all what you're doing. But I'm just saying, if it was something that was a neuropathy, then it would be pointless to try and, use neuropathy treatments.
Right, yeah, if that's not what you're dealing with.
Anything else, but I mean, to me, it seemed like pretty obvious.
Yeah, the symptoms are fairly obvious for a lot of people. That being said, we have some people who come in like, I don't even know what's going on. I've got this something. I don't feel good. And I've got some of these symptoms, and we're like, hey, this is actually not neuropathy. It's something else. And why don't you go see, somebody that takes care of that. So
yeah, my dad had what's it called, Neuropathy disease.
Yeah,
and that killed him probably 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now, lucky for me, I take after my mom's side of the family as far as the genetic. My dad was like 6'3", 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So I take after my mom's side, which is Irish, basically. So I'm skinny and kind of tall. But so anyway, so I don't think it's Lou Gehrig's, but I told my doctor months ago when I was back for my med check once in a while, and he never seemed to think it was nothing. Never tested blood or nothing. Never.
Right.
I mean, I've had blood tests, but nothing ever came back.
And a lot of them, like, they don't know what to link together, right? So, anyway, all of them to say, it's worthwhile to see what's been done, and if we need to order other testing, we can figure that out along the way. But yeah, that's a big deal.
That's something from the spine originally. I mean, something in your spine that pinched caused all this?
Yes. Yeah, one of the most common is disc compression, or what's called spinal stenosis, where the cord gets compressed, and that can definitely cause weakness in the legs and numbness in the legs.
You'll be able to diagnose that?
We would have a lot of indicators, and typically the people that have that going on, they've already seen somebody else. They already have MRIs. That's common. But if we need to order films, we can figure that out.
So you're saying a bad back could be
a bad back can definitely contribute substantially to neuropathy symptoms. Yes.
So a couple of them factor into one.
Yep. Exactly, and especially weaknesses. Like if there's leg weaknesses, that's different. That's typically motor related more than sensory. It could be both, but that's common. Yeah. Yep. Other questions? Does insurance cover this? What do you think? Yeah. I get the question so often. They go on Medicare's guidelines, say if there's a treatment plan designed to make your quality of life better, they won't cover it. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
They cover acute. They'll cover, walkers, wheelchairs, medications, the symptom management side of things. They even cover amputations, but they don't pay for you to get better. It's like, I didn't write the rules, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you what was going on. I'm not trying to hide anything, but they are not going to contribute to that and typically very limited from other insurance plans because Medicare says no, we're not touching that. The secondaries are usually not as they don't play with that either. They call it experimental is kind of their term, and they go, oh, it's experimental. We don't cover. It's very limited. So just to let you know up front, being straight honest with you, that's not changing in our lifetime, right? Or probably in my kids' lifetime. Medicare just trying not to go broke, and they're trying not to go bankrupt, so they're limiting stuff. That's a whole separate, probably political conversation that I'm not even going to dive into. Bottom line is, people that are serious about this invest in their health, and they see the value in their future and what they want to be able to do and provide and produce in the world, and they're willing to invest in that, but it will be typically out of pocket. Okay, which then leads to the next question: what does an investment in your health in something like this look like? It depends on the person and what's going on, and the severity of the nerve damage. We have plans that run from around 4,000 and can go north of 16,000 to 18,000 depending on what's going on, and how severe the nerve damage is and what other things are complicating. Like, the higher plans typically have back involvement. There's a knee problem. There's multiple things going on. There's autoimmune disease. There's all these other things happening, and they're usually in later stage advanced neuropathy. Again, just trying to be straight honest with you and tell you what we commonly see. And the great news is we've got several options for payments. So it's not, we can usually get a payment around $200 to $400 a month if you have decent credit, things like that. We have other payment options available for that kind of thing. So my promise to you is, again, if we can help you, we're going to find anything and everything we possibly can do within your means to make that work. But just trying to tell you straight up front what those could possibly be the ranges we commonly see. Is that helpful?
No.
Right. No, it's not. You know what's crazy though too is if I paid you, 10 grand to remove a toe, would you let me take your toe?
If you pay me 10 grand, nah.
Right?
Which toe?
Right? So he's like, now he's like, well, now we're bargaining. But they actually will charge 3 to 5 grand to remove one toe. That's what it costs to operate and remove a toe. 3 to 5 grand for a toe.
What?
I've seen, and I don't want to harp on the whole.
It's supposed to be healthcare.
Right, but it's like, anyway, my point is this, and I can't answer the question for you, and I realize there's economics involved in these things, but it's like, what is that worth to you to figure this out and go, if I can just stop the progression, what does that allow me to do in my life? What does that allow me to contribute to my family, my whatever that is your passion, I can't answer them, but what's that value?
I'm not ready for medical disability.
Yeah.
Keep working.
Right. So, but just trying to be honest with value and pricing and where that's at. And again, like I said, I don't want that to scare anybody away, but I do want to be just straightforward with where we're at. Okay. And like I said, if we can help you figure this out, then I promise we do everything we can within your means to make something work. Right. All right. We kind of talked about this when you've had your time wasted. If you found something valuable today, you had some good information today. Good. Thank you. And then I've done my job, hopefully. But again, I'm not going to waste your time. If we can help you, we will. If we can, I'm going to refer you. Okay? That's my promise. Next steps, can I share that opportunity with you? And we'll go through this briefly, but I want to let you know what's available. Here we have our processes in 2 different days. We have a day 1's information gathering, and day 2 then as we go over findings and reports and things like that. So day 1, we give our focused attention on detailed health history, what's going on, how'd you get here, what are your struggles and your goals. And then we do our neurological exam, all the basic vitals, height, weight, blood pressure, balance, coordination testing. We can actually measure and quantify your fall risk. We have a force plate that measures movement, things like that. We can actually quantify what that looks like. Muscle strength testing for movement disability, and our 16-point sensory exam that lets you know what you can and can't feel and how bad the nerve damage is. We do thermal imaging. Are you losing blood flow into the extremities or not? This lets us know, are we dealing with a metabolic vascular problem or something else?
Are they pretty reliable?
Mm-hmm. They are.
Pretty accurate.
Yep.
Seems like they are.
Yeah, and there's parameters that put your foot has to acclimate to room temperature for 7 minutes. All these parameters are on that. Yeah. We do a postural analysis. And so that lets us know, are the arches the right height? Is there a mechanical problem that's related to this? Is maybe the torso being torqued? It would put pressure on the nerve in the back, we can look at all those elements and kind of screen for mechanical issues that way.
That's why I got that invert table, because I was like this.
Right? Yeah. And that can be a big game changer. We do a microcirculation test. Looks like a pulse ox on your finger. Takes about 5 minutes, non-invasive. And we get a readout like this. Very commonly, type 1's the best, 7's the worst. You want to be at a 1. Commonly, we'll see 3s and 4s. I've had people that are, a type 4 that have already had a quad bypass. So if you're a 5 and higher is when the MDs and cardiologists start to see this. So if you're in a 5 or higher, I automatically refer to cardiology for a checkup to make sure you're in good shape. We've saved several heart attacks with this kind of screening. And then your elasticity of the blood vessel better be better than average if you have symptoms of neuropathy. Okay? That's all the diagnostics on one screen. Then I get together with Dr. Mitchell and the staff. We go, what are their goals? What their findings are? Can we help them get their goals back? What's that going to take? Put together a plan. We give you a graph of your sensory, of your damage. How bad is the nerve damage? Again, acute to permanent. And then we go over your goals. Obviously, whoever you have coming with you is really great because we go over a lot of information. So anybody that you have help you make healthcare decisions, financial decisions, all that, really great to have them on board so that they've got eyes and ears on it. They can ask questions. Like, when you have a team is when you win. And so we really invite anybody that be in that arena for you, and really recommend that they come to that business so you get the most value out of that. Okay? So you get your graph, give you your customized care plan and reversing it, and go over financial options. That would be our second visit. Make sense? That's our process. That's everything on one slide. And what I do know is that when you make a change, when you actually take action, is when things get different. Right? Like you all stood up and you took action and checked the balance. And then Ty took action and actually got a treatment that things are happening. So when you take action is when you win. The total value of all that's $875 for all the testing, book visits, everything we need to do for that. Okay? If we could just stop the progression and figure out what's going on, would that be something of value, right? Here's what I know with the action part. If you choose to take action, and I want to promote that for you guys today, we're going to give you a fast pain relief treatment. Depending on what's going on, it would be this or something else that would be appropriate. If you got wires implanted, we're not doing this one. But we do something to get your body working better and improve it. Similar to what we did for Ty. That's included in the second visit. Also, we're going to send you right away 25 anti-inflammatory foods and recipes you can start using right now to win with neuropathy. Okay? So add that together, and it's $945 total value for all of that. My wife had an ultrasound the other week at the hospital. It was $1,000 for one test. So I understand these can get, it's an investment, right? That being said, because I know insurance is going to pick this up, we're doing all of this for $197. $197 lets us know how bad is it, can we help you, what's it going to take, and put that together. Okay, if we need to order other whatever studies, that would be discovered on day one. But generally speaking, that's going to cover everything we need to do to see if we can accept you as a patient or not and get you the help you need. Okay, so that's my gift to you guys tonight. We only have a couple of spots available for this. Obviously we can't do this for everyone, but for spending time with us today and learning, I want to give you guys a little something. So how do you take advantage of that today? It's very simple. On the back window here, there's a couple sticky notes. It looks like there are more of you than we have available, but you're going to pick your favorite time and date. Okay? Take that to the desk. They will collect the $197, get you on the schedule, get you all the information you need for your first visit, and you'll be on our way to get you where we need to go. Okay? So it's that simple. Pick the date and time that works for you, take that to the front, and that's what we do. Any questions on that process before I let you go? Okay. For those of you at home, this is first come, first served. You're going to text 717-285-0001 and text the word help to 717-285-0001, and the appointments that are available. And with that, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. I trust that you're going to take steps to get better. And if we can be part of that with you, we invite you to do that. Okay? I will be over here, answer a couple questions for you. I know we went a little long tonight, but if you got questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I will let you go and have a very pleasant evening. Thanks for your time today.
Okay, Doc.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yep, Dr. Thomas.
I didn't even know people were